Hey everyone! So I recently went on a trip with my family to Disney World, and if you remember, I am in a wheelchair, so I think a lot of people are kind of curious on how I get around Disney and how I ride rides while not being able to walk or stand up or anything. So I'm going to get right into it. So I didn't catch a video of me getting onto the plane, but basically right as I'm about to board the plane, they transfer me over into an aisle chair, which is basically a wheelchair that's just very small that can fit down the aisle of a plane. So I get into that and they wheel me to my spot and I transfer over, and then they take my wheelchair and store it underneath. And it's a very easy process. I'm the first one on, last one off, so that is that. Also, a quick note on showing up to rides and getting in line. Some lines are not wheelchair accessible, so the cast member will notice you're in a wheelchair and they will take you through a different line. For the same ride, you'll still show up to the same place as everyone else, but it will be a wheelchair accessible line. There's also a thing you can get as you enter Disney World called the DAS Pass, and it will allow you to show up to rides and request a return time so that you don't have to wait in the line if it's inaccessible. So I would show up to a ride and basically ask, hey, can I get a return time? And then they would say, sure, come back in 45 minutes and you will get right in. So then they would take me right in after that 45 minutes is up, and I'd get right on the ride. At many rides, they will also ask you if you are able to walk at all or if you can walk with a little bit of assistance. I simply answer no, I am unable to walk at all, and then they lead me to the ride in a way that will benefit me and be completely wheelchair accessible because I cannot walk at all. So this was the magical express bus that took us from the airport directly to the Disney World resort that we stayed at. And so basically it just lifts me up and then brings me back out, and they lock my wheels in to secure me in the bus. It was also similar to the Disney buses that took us from the resort to the parks, except there was no lift. I just went up a ramp that led straight into the bus, and then they locked my wheels down, and I just took up a little section of the bus, and it was very easy to get in and out of the park buses. First ride, Magic Kingdom, yay! This one was super easy. A ramp folded out of the back of the ADA car. I was wheeled right in and it was perfect. Same way to get off the ride. The next ride was the exact same way as the last one. A ramp folded out. Sometimes they have to stop the ride, sometimes they don't have to. The next one, we didn't get a video of me getting directly on, but basically the ADA boat came up right next to where I was located, and I just wheeled right on and they strapped me in and it was perfect. And also another ride that's exactly like this is the Three Caballeros ride. It is the same exact format. So in this ride, the seat in the back of the train car was able to lower the armrest and be able to get me directly next to the bench so that I could transfer over, and then the same process for me getting out, I just pushed myself out. The next one, they pulled the boat up right next to the dock and they unloaded a ramp for me to wheel onto. It's a little bit of a tight ramp, as you could tell. I had some troubles getting lined up with it, but it wasn't too bad and it got wider as it went along. And then the cast members are very well trained to do all this, so then they lock all that up, then they spin me around, and then they lower the device, and of course they warned me to watch my head because I was right next to the top of the boat. But obviously they do all of this stuff before anybody else gets on this ride. This ride, I did not get a video of me getting on, but here's a video of me getting off. Basically, I just pull my wheelchair right up next to the seat and transfer over. If I wanted to be the pilot in this ride, I would have had to get in an aisle chair to get up to the front chairs. This ride was similar to a lot of the others. We pulled up to the back and a ramp folded out of the ADA car and I wheeled right on in. This ride, I pulled my chair right up next to the seat that was in the ride and I was able to transfer over pretty easily, and then the cast member took my chair out and held it outside of the ride for me. So I will say this ride was a little bit more complicated. I had to have a transfer device attached to the ride. As you can see, that's what I'm getting on right now. It had a part on the side rail, and then I scooted over onto a part that was a little lower, and then I scooted back onto the ride fully. and then they take the transfer device off while the ride is in motion. So here's the process of me getting out of that ride. I will say this was the most difficult one during my entire time in Disney World. So basically the same transfer device is used, but this time I'm going upward, so gravity is kind of holding me back. So the cast member helped me place my wheelchair in the place that I needed to be placed. So then I am able to get onto the transfer device, the first part of it, while my family is able to help me position things. And then I get onto the side rail part. I use my arms to be able to pull me up, take my side guard out so that I can access my wheelchair easier, pull my legs along with me so that I can have the leverage from them. And then I lift myself up into my chair, and then I take my legs the rest of the way with me, and then I am fully back in my chair. This was my absolute favorite ride my whole time at Disney, so if you get the chance to do this at Galaxy's Edge, you definitely should. I just pull my chair right up next to the vehicle and transfer over into it. Super quick and easy process. For this ride, I had to wait a little bit for an ADA car to come around. It had just left as I got there, so I was able to wheel up via ramp onto this ride, and then they locked me in, and then they rotated me facing front, and then it's just the same process for getting out. This one, the boat came right up next to the loading area, and I just wheeled straight on and locked my brakes, and I was all set. This one, I pulled my chair right up next to it and transferred right over. I was all safe and secured, so my legs dangling throughout the ride was not a problem at all. So this one was also pretty easy. They had an ADA cart, and then I was able to go right up the ramp that they released from it, and the cast member helps me up the ramp if I need it, and then they're able to close the ramp right up on the back, and then I am pushed right into the ride, and I am able to ride all of these with someone else. They just enter the ride right after me. For this ride, like many others, I asked for the ADA car, and it pulled right up, and it had the bench available with no door on it, so that I was able to transfer right over into it, and the same way out, they stopped the ride, and I was able to get back into my chair. Now this was the most depressing ride of all, the ride back into the Magical Express to go back to the airport. It was very sad leaving Disney because I was very impressed with all of the accessibility. Going through the park was not a problem at all. There were ramps everywhere, flat ground. It was amazing, and overall I'm just very impressed with the whole experience. So that was my trip to Disney in a wheelchair. It was my first time going while being in a wheelchair, and I'm very impressed with everything that was made accessible to me. So if you have any questions that I did not cover in the video, please feel free to leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching.